the duck tours, guys. We're doing duck tours. Doing duck tours. Lots of thing there, like a shopping center. And here we're going on a trip. We're doing a duck tour. And then go. Going Hiko, Hiko, here. Come here. You wanna hear?
Yeah, next one.
Yay!
This plastic on this bill.
Hi guys.
I'm gonna stand up the whole time. Yeah, this is epic.
Duck tour. Tomorrow.
Inside. Oh, that's salt.
Yeah, I did. That's you wanna ask? We're going out. That's the duck. The duck float, right? The duck float.
I'm having a mental
So, where are we again?
duck.
Arkansas.
We are duck.
That's French Arkansas. The duck tour.
We are duck.
Cover your mouth. Face mask now, please. We're waiting for the driver. The driver is not yet here.
I think that looks like a fire truck. Grandma? Oh, it's a duck. It's time. It's a time. It's coming up. I'll use this. Quackity, quackity, quack, quack.
Check. Alright guys, I'm Captain Jerry. Check. A little better. Alright, I'm Captain Jerry. Welcome to National Park Duck Tours. Coast Guard Mason's businessman. Alright, so you'll get your life jacket down in case of any emergency that we have. You'll place it where the tag is actually out in front of you. So this little adult tag right here, it'll be facing away from you. You'll spread it out like this, put it over your neck, pull it tight, go behind your body, back around, and you're actually going to clip it back into the D-ring. which will secure it and make it tie where it will not come off of you in case of an emergency. But don't worry, we've never had an emergency, so you guys are good. Alright. Does anybody have any questions for me, the Doug? Comments? Well, if you got a question for the Doug, let me know. We're on video.
Oh,
What? Tours for the next hour and a half. I'll be your babysitter, bartender, tour guide, Dr. Phil, whatever you guys need.
Wait, is one supposed
Wait so we can merge out the traffic here. Find us a brand new 2021 Corvette to pull out in front of.
Don't touch it. Don't put your hands out. Don't put your hands out. You will get hurt, okay?
holding into traffic? This is the slowest bus spot here.
That's good.
And we'll go to a commercial break. Brought to you by the trash truck. We'll be back momentarily. Some of y'all locals?
Texas.
Texas.
Good deal. So far. Thank you, sir.
Goodbye,
Alright guys, we
California.
have just pulled out on
Going to
Central
Asia.
Avenue. Now back in the older days, it was actually called Valley Street. And the reason it was called Valley Street, well obviously there's that Whitley Duck that runs all the way down Valley Street. There's also underground tunnels from back in the gangster days. Now the city has actually used those tunnels to their advantage. They put sewage lines and water lines and things of that nature in there.
Wow, we don't have jacket.
Everybody will look here to your left-hand side of the statue right here. That man is Mr. Hill Whitley. Now, Mr. Whitley actually used to own 70 to 80% of downtown Hot Springs up until he passed away. Once he passed away, he actually left his fortune to his grandson, who still lives here in Hot Springs today. Matter of fact, where we just pulled out, that little parking lot, the building to the left-hand side of that parking lot at the very top. Now, this little wing right here, this little expansion, it was done in the 1960s. And if you look at this mosaic painting of Jesus, it's actually not a painting at all. Those are actually made out of mosaic tile pieces that took over 2.5 years to build. There was not a single drop of paint used on them. And if you guys are in town and want to have some fun with the family, we have a little go-kart track here. They have laser tag, mini golf, gyroscope, a big slide, and a zip lining course, just to name a few. As we descend down this hill, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to hold on to any kind of hats, loose jewelry, cell phones, hair pieces, anything of that nature. If for some reason something does fall off, I need you to hold up your left hand with a $20 bill. I'll merge to the center lane and retrieve your items. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a lady that her hair actually flew off, and one of the other drivers actually stopped, got off the duck to get it, and by the time he got back on the duck, she actually had a new hairpiece. Talk about embarrassing. Now right here on our left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, is actually one of our wineries of Hot Springs. If you go in there and present your duck ticket, you actually get free wine tasting. They have between 7 and 9 bottles of different bottles of wine, and they even have grape juice for the kids. They also have little home decors and whatnot that you can purchase and take home to decorate with. My personal favorite out of the wines, though, would probably be the Big Kahuna in the Arkansas Red. Now, does everybody see this green wall right here to our right-hand side where this old sign used to be? The local palm reader's house actually used to sit there. Now, what's ironic about this is in 2013, she actually had the place remodeled. Now, she's a palm reader, keep that in mind. So, what they done was when during painting the house, they actually forgot to turn the pilot light off, and did you imagine what kind of explosion that was? Must have been bad for business. You would think that she would be able to tell her own house was about to blow up. her in mind because we're going to talk about her a little later on in the tour. I should actually show you her new location. It was built by a man named W.C. Brown. Now, Mr. Brown, actually, he was the founder of the Cotton Gin Railroad here in Arkansas. This house right here, they've actually, at one point in time, had it open to the public where the public could go in and view the beautiful home. It has made historic home magazines throughout the country, and it is actually still in the Brown family today. This house right here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's actually currently under renovation right now. They're doing some maintenance and upkeep to the old beautiful home. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you a little bit about Oakland Raceway. So Oakland Raceway is a horse race track and a little casino. Now, what's ironic about this is gambling is actually still illegal in the state of Arkansas to this day. Well, you ask how they get away with it. Well, on the horse races, you actually bet against the other bettors. You don't bet against the horses. And as far as the casino side of it, they actually call it electronic gaming. So by calling it electronic gaming, you're not gambling, you're actually playing a game, more or less. I guess that just proves to show you can get away with anything if you word it right. That and you are in Clinton country. A lot of people ask me what are the odds of winning here at Oakland. Well, I'll just fill you in on this. From about right here in this building, back this direction is a new add-on they done to the casino. Now, if you look directly to your left as we pass it, you'll actually see a new hotel/resort that they have built on, and you can still see that they're undergoing construction on the new parking lot. They have recently just spent $220 million on this addition. So, if you're wondering what your odds are, they're probably not that great. Unless you go in there with the mindset that you're going to lose whatever you took in there. Then I guess it's a win-win for both of you. Tornado Valley. Reason being is every tornado that has ever touched down has come through this valley. Fun fact, the last tornado actually ripped the roof off of this liquor store over here to our right-hand side, and it placed it in the parking lot of Planet Fitness. Now, the community helped out wonderful. They brought out long ladders and even longer straws, and they worked non-stop for a couple of days helping clean up the mess. Now, can you believe that? We have a good community. Or a bunch of alcoholics, however you look at it. And as we descend down this hill right here, if everybody will look off to our right-hand side, this is our family fun park. It is actually our biggest go-kart track we have here in Hot Springs. They also have like a miniature ropes course. They've got bumper cars, the 4D, and a few odd and end games for the families to play. As we come around this little curve right here, if everybody will look straight in front of us at this little overpass, this is actually the Martin Luther King Expressway. We call it the bypass if you're from around here. But if you get on it, take a left, follow it all the way to the end, and follow the signs, it'll take you to Magic Springs and I'm sorry, my mic's messing up. Magic Springs amusement park. Now you can go out there and you can ride the rides. They've got a water park and they do concerts on the weekend. But I heard that they're not going to open up until around May because of COVID. Now if you jump on, take a ride, and follow the signs, it'll actually take you to Murfreesboro, Arkansas, to the Crater of Diamonds, where you can dig for your own diamonds and you get to keep what you find. Or you can also take a ride and go to Mid-America Museum down here that's around the National Park College. Another little fun fact about the museum is they've actually have a dinosaur track that comes from just outside of Murfreesboro, Arkansas, where they mine for gypsum. So they was blowing a bunch of gypsum up, getting ready to turn it into sheetrock, and come across this giant dinosaur print. And they brought it up here, put it on display in the museum, and you can actually go and look at that today. if you do decide you want to go dig for diamonds and you find one and get filthy rich, you're on.
It's very good.
When it gets really busy during the summer, they'll be backed up out here on the Central with 2 lines. And we have Central bowling lanes right here on our left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Bill Clinton himself actually used to bowl here when he was a child. I heard his record was not that great either. Now, they have recently actually just done a $2 million renovation to the bowling alley. They've come in, put new machines in it, new flooring, repainted it, redone the kitchen, and they've added some pool tables and gaming rooms in there, so it's actually a really fun environment. And for the moment you've all been waiting for, the #1 tourist attraction spot in Hot Springs, your local Wally World. I live here and I'm in here twice a week. So are you guys enjoying your vacation so far?
Yes!
Is it?
Yeah!
Y'all must be on spring break then.
Yeah, it's amazing!
Hot Springs, believe it or not, actually used to be a big baseball city. So we had all these different Major League Baseball players and minor league baseball players that they would come into town. And there were several different reasons that they actually came here. But some of the main reasons they come here is, one, they would use our mountains for conditioning and to get into shape. Now, they also heard that our springs had natural healing powers, kind of like the gangsters heard. And so what they would do is they would come up here, work out on the mountain on a nice hard day, get into good shape, and then they would go and soak in our bathhouses in the spring water. And they believed that it would cure them, loosen their muscles back up, and they'd be good to go. Well, another thing is we actually had a baseball team here. It was a minor league team now, so don't get too excited. It was actually called the Hot Springs Bathers. Now, we may not have had the best name, but I promise we had the cleanest.
Wow, the
Hot
best.
Springs is also known for all of its outlaws and throughout history. We had outlaws like Jesse James, Billy the Kid, Bonnie and Clyde, and the famous Al Capone.
I can't see!
This ice was, yeah. You want to go here in the side?
Commercial break. Brought to you in part by this just got done taking a bath. firefighter. I have a key to that gate. I'll let you in. Now, as we're approaching Lake Hamilton, there's a few things the Coast Guard makes me go over with you guys. I'm Captain Jerry. I'm Coast Guard certified. And to do that, we have to bail off the side. I'm going to need everybody to put their life jackets on and go off either side of the duck as I instruct them to do. Please do not go off the back of the duck, and please do not go off the front of the duck. The back of the duck, we have a propeller. The front of the duck, you take a chance of getting ran over. Now, if for any reason while we're out here you see a stranded motorist, just point him out and keep an eye on him. We'll go over there, we'll snatch him up, charge $50. That's 50 for me, or 25 for me, and 25 for y'all to fight over. Now, if he does not have this 50 bucks, we're going to throw him back in the water. It's kind of a catch and release program, just like fishing.
Water time.
He's not really homeless. He's actually my stepdad, believe it or not. He's a pretty nice guy. Okay.
Nice guy, that's all I heard.
I didn't say what Mom said. Legal captain. We just do several weeks worth of training with them after they get their Coast Guard license, especially since it just opened for this season. He's already told you about the life jackets, correct?
Yep.
Everybody knows about the life jackets. 90 pounds or less is child, 90 pounds or greater is adult. Children's here, adults on the side. Infants, do we have any infants on board? None. No infants, no. That's good. Those things take about 2 hours to put up. Always touch transfer. Nope, no. Touch transmission before you touch transfer. Speaking transmission in neutral. Oh, it is? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Alright. Now just put it in drive and neutral and make sure it's... Okay. Wheels are out. We're good to go. Just going slow. Alright, guys, here we go. Anybody scared?
No.
Should be.
I'm happy.
I get scared every time I get on.
I haven't swimmed in water in a while. Swam.
Is it gonna float?
Yeah.
It did just get Coast Guard certified for the year ago, about an hour and a half ago. Bond. James Bond. That wasn't so bad, was it? How many on the duck cannot swim? How many non-swimmers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Good Lord. For some reason, we start thinking of water and like 4 non-swimmers come up front. We have 3 red buckets you'll have to take turns to take the water out. It's a proven fact. 4 will be quicker than any swimmer on the duck. You done this yet? Good. Lights not on. We are out here on Lake Hamilton. Lake Hamilton is a man-made lake. It was built by the Arkansas Power and Light Company in the early 1900s, completed in 1932. It has approximately 27,000 surface acres. It's 24 miles long and about 1.5 miles wide at its widest point. It also depths of right at 100 feet at its deepest. There are 2 other lakes that are close by us here. If you go directly behind us about 20 miles, you'll run into Blakely Dam. For some reason you do survive that, get on the other side, you'll be in Lake Ouachita. Lake Ouachita is the largest lake in Arkansas and tied for the cleanest in the country. Tied with Lake Texoma along the Texas. Here, wrong answer. We'll find you up to 250 bucks, confiscate all your fishing materials, and find you up to 50 bucks a fish. You don't even get to keep the fish. Coming up on your right-hand side here up on the hill, you'll get a better look at it in just a minute. This is a Hamilton house. The Hamilton house was built in the late 1920s, completed around the same time that the lake was. It was owned by a gentleman named Van Lyle. He was the president of the Coca-Cola bottling company here at the time. Van Lyle liked to impress people. He had a half a dozen bedrooms in it, built it with antiques, some marble floors, and a huge chandelier inside. He kept the place until 1962. That's when he passed away and left it all to his wife. Unfortunately for her, she got into some financial problems. Just a 1.5 years later, the state of Arkansas forced her to auction it off to pay the back taxes. They had the auction very rainy and foggy. Only 4 couples showed up. One by the name of Dr. and Miss Smith. They purchased the Hamilton House here as a residence and 4.5 acres of St. John's Island for $102 home. What's it worth today? Well, in 2004, it appraised out at $4.6 million. Hilton Hotels was going to buy the estate, tear it down, and build a Hilton out here. Instead, they built one on the other side of the island. So the Hamilton House here is a restaurant for over 40 years. In 2013, it was turned into a bed and breakfast inn, and that was the greatest part of all, because there was nothing better than going right here by their little patio every Saturday in August, 110 degrees, and they're out there saying their vows with a duck going by every 5 minutes. Nothing more romantic, let me tell you, folks. No better way to start a marriage or end it, for that fact. So the folks that own the Hamilton House, Dr. and Miss Smith, they listed it in 2014 for like $11 million. It kept coming down $1 million or $2 each year. In December of 2018, it sold for $2.9 million, which I think was a bargain. The lady and her husband, she's an attorney from Hope, Arkansas. They own a gas and oil company in Houston, Texas, worth over $6 billion. B is in boy, $1 billion. Very wealthy. They've done all this rock work, landscaping, and all that since they bought it. And you'll see behind the scaffolding there, the big windows. See the brick around it? You notice now the brick to the right is just a little bit cleaner than that brick. Well, that brick has not been cast since 1936 until they bought the house. They paid Acme Brick to recast the brick. The brick on the right is brand new. In a few years, it should look just like the other. And if that's not enough, see on the left-hand side, the crossover, there's an infinity pool between it. Everything on the left-hand side there, that's all brand new. That's their new guest house. Must be nice, And on your right, this is Jerry's house. Captain Jerry's going to pull us in there. We'll have snacks, cokes, and ice cream. We'll be headed back. You like that? I'm kidding. Didn't believe that. We'll sell it to you. That's cash on. So the boathouse here, Dr. and Miss Smith, when they bought the Hamilton House, made it into a restaurant. They made the boathouse into their, lived in the boathouse until December of 2019. And December of 19, they both moved out. They're like almost 100 years old each. And as soon as they moved out, they started renovations on that house. You can see that everything inside's been redone. They also have a new concrete drive they just poured this winter, going down to it and all that. Over here to your right, these condos, back in 1992 when I started driving this bucket of boats, we're telling people $60,000 to $75,000 a piece. And nowadays, good luck at that price. In 1998, Entergy, which controls our shoreline, decided they didn't want boat slips like this all over the lake. You can only have one boat slip per 100 feet now. So it literally tripled the price of the condos. Not many people are going to buy a condo right without a boat slip. They went up to 100 a day and all that, trying to get away from locals burning their own businesses and houses and all that stuff. Really sharp. The condos on the right down here, the real colorful ones, those are the most expensive on the lake. They were built in 2000 and 2001. Sell between $750,000. They sold between $750,000 and $1.1 million a piece back in those days. Every condo there, except the bottom right-hand side one, that one was sold to a local. All the others were sold to folks from California. Even back in those days, we had so many people moving here to retire, and so much cheaper standard living and all that. You guys, while we're turning here, you can get a beautiful picture here of the lake, the bridge, Mount Riante back there in the distance. You may even get a short bus crossing if you're lucky with it being a Monday. Mount Riante back there in the distance, it does have a drive up to the top of it. We used to tell people they can go up there and sightsee and all that, but it has been now declared a private subdivision, so they have a gate up. So if you want to see the mountains, you'll have to go downtown, go up on the mountains down there in the national park. But this does make a neat picture. Straight ahead up here, you'll see the metropolis of a house. It's over 17,000 square feet. It's owned by a gentleman named Gilbert Garrett. He was the second he bought it. $70,000 a couple months ago, and he sit on the left-hand side of the house here. 3,200 square feet is put aside for Gilbert's new mother-in-law. Now, if I had that kind of money, I'd definitely build my mother-in-law place, don't get me wrong. He'll be on the island over there, South Texas, North Korea. Yeah, definitely not be attached to my house. But you gotta figure Gilbert's new mother-in-law, or Gilbert is only a year older than himself, so maybe it's a backup plan. We never know what happens. He does have a safe room on each side of the house. Beautiful place inside and out. An awesome pool up there on the second floor of the patio. Coming up on your right here, you'll see the big white house with a red top that was built in 1992. The same year I started driving this bucket of boats. There's something about a gentleman named Lee Beasley. Beasley kept it until June of 2004. He listed it in June of 2004 for $1.1 million. And he sold it the same day that he listed it for his asking price. And honestly, I think that was way too cheap. The lady who bought it is the heir to the Maybelline Cosmetic Corporation. Her and her husband do live in the house full time. Arkansas Born Company. They did almost a $2 million renovation to the inside of it just a couple of years ago. So the island to your left, St. John's Island. The island to your right is Long Island, longer than this lot. And out there to your forward, right about 2 o'clock, below a clump of trees, known as Snake Island. So these areas here used to be, now they're just like islands out here, but years ago they were tops of hills. The Washita River lived many feet below where we are today in Little Valley. It went through here and turned the head down towards where Lake Catherine is today. Back during those days, the Native American Indians, they lived upon the river. They used it for fishing, for travel, for daily use and all that. So you can imagine the lake right now is down about 3.5 feet. They're bringing it up from a 5-foot drawdown, and it ended up being over an 8-foot drawdown at times because they're repairing the dam. But back when I was a kid, they let the lake down 10 feet in the wintertime, and you have all kinds of islands and shorelines exposed out here. In 1998, a Native American group got control of anything below the water level at its summer level, which you can see where it is on the seawall over there. So in the wintertime, they keep a boat out here, and they catch you mining for the old Indian artifacts. It is a $25,000 fine. Back when I was a kid, you could find arrowheads, all kinds of cooking utensils, all kinds of stuff out here.
Way back, how many years? Because it's not 120,000 in auction. But back way, 125,000 is really expensive.
Yeah, but this is like in the 80s or something.
Really?
Yeah.
They're lucky to get the house.
Always asking me, how does a duck float? Well, the duck displaces more water than it weighs, therefore it stays on top of the water just like any other boat out here on the lake. These things were built back in the 1940s for the U.S. Army. They didn't have to figure out how to get the drive shaft to the rear end without getting water into the hull. Came up with rubber accordion style boots. There was one on the rear end and one on the hull, times 3 of course because it was 6-wheel drive, and a hollow tube went between them. So as your rear end went up and down, the boots would flex, the hollow tube would move, and the drive shaft rode in the middle of the hollow tube. Our competitor here in 1999 came out here and put the boot on backwards, had an accident. This company at that point shut down and welded in 1/4-inch steel with a Timken marine bearing. Solid steel shaft that passes through that. It's literally an unsinkable duck unless you pull the drain plug, so we're definitely not going to do that. We have 6 Coast Guard lieutenants. You guys are good to go for today. You guys on the driver's side, if y'all want to get a picture of the lake, the mountains, and all that, make some beautiful pictures. We'll turn it around here for a second. Minus the catfish water. Beautiful out here today. We had like 20 inches of snow a couple weeks ago when all that melted, like all the dirt and all. I guess when it melted, it brought the dirt into the lake. It's really dirty right now. But good for a guy to take you out and like he baits the hook, he catches the shad, you catch the fish, reel it in, even he skins the fish and everything. It's a lot of fun though. First time I went, I caught an 11-pound black bass, which at up in the stomach. So I think they're all so big in the bass that was. Caught a 48-pound striper and a 27-pound striper, which I have both of those now. The 48-pounder is like huge. So they put these striped bass in 1982 into Lake Hamilton, Lake Ouachita, to see how they would adapt to the fresh waters because they're saltwater bass. They adapted well. They're at the top of the food chain. They literally eat everything out here except the 10 or 12-foot alligator. Y'all can good laugh. That was caught on video. Right down the lake here on Labor Day weekend. Apparently someone stole from an alligator farm. But they eat everything besides alligator. Turbo automatic transmission rebuilt by TCI transmissions. 6-wheel drive. It has 6-wheel disc brakes now. This is one thing that has to turn over. It's really nice. We used to have to throw people off the duck on the way back downtown with the wet brakes to get to the stop. You'll see in a minute our brakes are actually better fed than they are dry. One funny thing about the ducks is the men are over fighting in war. Over half of them were built mainly by the ladies. Hooray for the women, huh? They're still around, of course, because those men are driving. The company built over 21,600 ducks. After World War II was over, they felt it was too expensive to bring the ducks back overseas. Mainly due to the fact that once these things hit the salt water, they rusted out very quickly. They just pull the drain plug to ship them out in the ocean to sink. Big waste time. Any guys ever heard the term a sitting duck? I'll tell you where it got its name. You're out in the middle of the ocean and one of these things getting shot at. It won't get them up, but it'll pull them all over the lake. Any volunteers? None? Up to you guys. Back there, go ahead and tell me along, sir. We'll pick them up on the next trip. This house over here on your left is pretty interesting. It's owned by the folks that started the Hall's Coast Drops. You'll see the Hall's family on their sign there. They were here just Labor Day last weekend, but usually they're here 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Labor Day weekend. They pay a lady and her grandkid lives there and takes care of the house for them. But look at the slide here on the other side. It goes from the garage 40-something feet down, launches them out over the lake over 5 feet. The thing you didn't know about the folks that are the Hall's Coast Drops, it's in Pentecostal. When they're going down the slide, they're in a long skirt. Which is pretty interesting to watch it and stuff. Alright, before we hit the boat ramp up here, Captain Jerry's going to pop everything in neutral so we don't pop an axle when the front wheels hit the concrete. If I could, go ahead and get everyone back there. If you will, go ahead and lift your feet up for me, please. Either nobody's listening or nobody cares. Or both, you never know. Got neutral. In full drive. Good. Full drive. Pop it in. Alright, just sit there, put your hand on it. When it hits, put it in drive. Alright. Like I said, if you ever roll back here, okay, go real slow, Jerry. Real slow. Oh, our tires are on the ground, folks. Looks like we didn't get to use those life jackets after all. Don't you guys wish your boat got in the water that easily? Be nice, wouldn't it? We didn't get the prop off, and we're going to cut it off, leave it off. Unless we get a little foreign car behind us that just wants to see how close they can get to the duck. You guys enjoy the water portion of the trip?
Yeah.
Anyway, y'all had so much fun. We're going to do it again in reverse. Hold on, here we go. You got it, you got it. I'm kidding. Send it back downtown.
Put it back because of the the dirt. Yeah, the dirt also they already opened it. Bye-bye.
Alright guys, Captain Jerry's going to drop me off up here, and you guys, hopefully he'll get you guys back downtown. How many guys are from Texas? I mean, on Texas, everybody, of course. Thank God for Texas, otherwise we'd be broke. I guess part of it's this week and part of it's next week, right? Everybody, who's not from Texas?
Spring break.
Where y'all from? Where? Did y'all get lost? I went to Scottsdale for the first time a few months ago. Oh my God, beautiful, beautiful. And where are you guys from? Prescott, Arkansas? Prescott, Arizona. So you are from Arizona? Oh, Mississippi. Okay, I heard them say Arizona. All right, guys, hope you have a good time.
Thank you. You too.
He's leaving.
All right, guys, y'all ready? Did y'all enjoy your water part of the tour? Good deal. And we're off to see the wizard. We didn't get no Cadillac, but we tried. Alright, as we pull back out onto Central. So he was telling you a little bit about the ducks that we have today. These are the all original 1940s World War II ducks that have been modified throughout the years. These ducks come up here on our left-hand side are actually a completely redesigned duck. So these are the ones that Branson happened when they had their accident. And what they have done is they're actually called a stretch duck. So basically they have made them longer, put more seats in them, and trying to maximize profit off of them. Well, in doing that, they actually made it kind of unsafe. So these ducks, if you've ever paid attention to ours, we have a solid hood on them. We've actually got like a little rubber seal that goes around it. So if we get out in like a storm or something where it's real wavy and whatnot, we have to get back to the shoreline, we can actually take this bar, shove it forward, and slams the hood down, seals it off. Their actual has mesh grating in it, so even if you shut the hood, you still got water that rolls over into the hole of the duck. Well, another thing that we have that they didn't is we actually have 3 different water pumps on this duck. We have a Higgins pump, which pumps 1,800 gallons a minute. It's kind of like the pumps you see on the fire boats. And then we have a 500-gallon-minute pump at the front and rear of the duck. So, in order to do our Coast Guard training, which we've actually got Coast Guard in this week, we actually have to fill these ducks completely up with water and drive them off the boat ramp. Now, a lot of y'all think that's crazy, but what we do is we fill them up. It takes like an hour to fill them up with water. Drive it off the boat ramp and we kick our pumps on. It takes 45 seconds to empty this duck completely full of water. So you can almost pull all the plugs out of this. Now we're actually coming up on one of the most dangerous intersections here in Hot Springs. And the reason being is there's actually a blind field right here, which you guys will be able to see here in just a second. But don't you worry, I'm not scaring nobody. I'm just letting y'all know we're in good hands. There's a cemetery across the road. They've got a fence up because people are dying to get in there, so we're covered. Tell y'all a little bit about Hot Springs and its national park. So Hot Springs is actually the second oldest park in the country. And believe it or not, it actually should be the first because we actually had, they declared Yellowstone as the actual oldest and first national park, but Hot Springs was actually a park at the time that they declared Yellowstone a national park. So it's kind of one of them catch-22s. It's one of them we kind of are, but we kind of aren't the oldest park. And a lot of people don't know that. And I tell you another little fun fact is all of our mountains around here, they actually bought it up, and that's why they turned it into a national park. It's because they didn't want any locals or any kind of big businesses coming in buying them up so that they could contaminate the spring water, because that's one of the reasons Hot Springs is famous. So they come in, bought it all up, turned it into a big national park, and that way they could also preserve the water. Now, Hot Springs actually has 47 different springs. There's 2 that you can actually still see today. One of them you can actually get water from and take home. They've got a little fountain set up, which I'll show you guys on the way back. And don't worry, if you don't have your container, I'm sure one of them stores will sell you a highly overpriced one. Or you can go down to that famous Wally World I was telling you about and get you one for a couple of bucks. Now the other one is actually located in the Arlington Park. Now I'll show you all that when we get down there. You can actually set up and take pictures with the family in front of it up on the ledge. Now, however, I will advise you, I would not recommend touching the water because the water comes out of the mountain at between temperatures of 140 and 150 degrees. Therefore, you do take a chance of it burning your skin if you do touch it. But it is a really pretty sight to go see and take pictures with the family. And it looks like we'll go to another commercial break. Brought to you by traffic and a red light. We'll be back in 10. A few other late night TV shows. For the name. Now the name of this funeral home is actually Gross Funeral Home. Like, yeah, it's Gross. That's actually the name of it. But a lot of people don't know this, that it actually used to belong to a doctor before it was a funeral home. And what he would do is he'd do his living quarters upstairs and his doctorate at the bottom story. And so when the funeral home bought it out, they added on to the right-hand side of it, put a crematory and all that mess in there. And they say that the upstairs is actually haunted. Now how true that is, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that they actually shut it down to where the general public cannot go upstairs for that reason. Hey look guys, there's old Bill Clinton standing over here. Now that is actually a life-size portrait of Bill Clinton in a cardboard cutout. You can go have your picture taken with him. Say I got my picture with Bill. If you're excited about that, you know. But actually, this little music store right here, when Bill was in high school, he was actually in the band and he played the saxophone. And that is actually where he purchased his musical equipment and whatnot for high school. So it's amazing that they're still around today. I mean, it's kind of nice to see that because there's not a whole lot of mom and pop stores around anymore today because of all these corporate businesses. But if you get a chance and you're into music, that's a pretty cool place to check out. So anybody planning on going to Oakland later on while they're here? Righty, that's a good decision. But however, if you decide that you do want to go, I'm going to go ahead and warn you the food's kind of pricey, so you might want to eat elsewhere. losing a bunch of money. I'm trying to figure out how to get back home. They always say location is key. I guess that's why they put a pawn shop across from the casino. That way, when you lose your money, you can get a little bit of money to go home on. I feel like I'm really into a TV show that I'm trying to watch, and it keeps going to all them commercial breaks that last for like 5 minutes apiece. So if everybody will look right here in front of us, the statue of the horse right here, that's actually Secretary. The Secretary was a horse that raced here back years ago that won. Now, each year during the race season, they actually declare a winner of the horse races. And used to, they would repaint the horse and put his tassels from the rider and all that on it. I recently found out yesterday, so for all the people on my tour yesterday morning and whatnot, I apologize to you, that they actually don't do that no more, so. Y'all got this, I got faith in you. Hey, man! He's such a nice guy, y'all. Believe it or not, I actually done that one day and the guy went to cussing at us. I was like, how rude. Somebody called me the mayor, I'd smile and wave. Baptist Church in Hot Springs. It's actually the biggest Baptist church here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Now that's another one of them that is location is key type situations, because you got the casino, biggest church. Somebody somewhere is doing something right. Talking about when we left out earlier. So over here to our left-hand side, this is West Mountain, and over here to our right is actually Hot Springs Mountain. Now you can go do bike riding tours and hiking and all kinds of picnic activities. Any kind of outdoor activity you can pretty much do except for hunt up there. Now my personal favorite would actually be Hot Springs Mountain, and the reason being is you can actually go up inside that tower. I want to say it's like $8. I haven't done it in a couple of years, so price may have went up on it. But you can go up there, and they say on a pretty clear day that you can actually see up to like 50 miles, and you can see all of Hot Springs and surrounding areas. It's actually very neat. Now, if you're wondering what kind of part of town you're in, well, I'm going to tell you, it's pretty rough. Even our chickens are gangster. They're tatted up. You'll see that is a gangster chicken. And don't forget, right here on the right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the mood for some wine tasting, just go in there with your duck ticket. Go get your free wine tasting. They've got home decor that you can look at. And if y'all are into sports, well, I try to get us on ESPN with a duck, you know. I don't know what kind of sport we'll do with a duck, but we'll do a donut. Now, I'm going to need everybody to look to the right-hand side, smile, and wave real big, because that's what we're going to look like on ESPN. Now, y'all remember that local palm reader I was telling y'all about at the beginning of this tour? Well, she happened to have relocated after the house blew up, and it's going to be right here on the right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as you can see, she is booming for business. Booming. Now, it's just, I ain't never seen that parking lot that full. Now, I will tell y'all, I run her a pretty close race. You give me $5, I'll compete with her. I'll tell you what you're going to be doing and reading your fortune for the next 10 minutes. And that's going to be riding this duck. Guaranteed. Or your money back. We had one of our duck drivers that was actually telling that joke. She actually come outside and went to yelling at him. It was actually pretty funny. Now, is anybody staying at the hotel right here at the T-Rex complex? Smart decision. I didn't say that. My boss owns that. We're back here at the go-kart track once again. I actually learned how to drive on that go-kart track, believe it or not. Got out there in the duck, went backwards, and they failed me very first time. They didn't like me driving backwards. Does everybody see this red and tan building right here? You'll be able to see it right here when we get between this church and this other building. See this building right here, back here in the back? That is actually the old Hot Springs High School. Now, what's unique about that is Bill Clinton himself actually graduated high school there. So when he got out of office, he actually wanted to build his presidential library right there, and they told him no, which I kind of thought was funny. But they told him no because they had turned it into an apartment complex since then. And so what they had actually done is they actually moved it to Little Rock and put his library in Little Rock. So if you're interested in going and seeing that, you can go visit it. I've actually been up there. It's actually pretty neat. That wasn't the Cadillac I was wanting to pull up in front of, but hey, it works. As we enter downtown, I'll show you all the Wildcat Theater here in just a second. So the Wildcat Theater is actually going to be located right here. It is actually the home of Maxwell Blade. Now, what's interesting of Maxwell Blade, he grew up here as a child. He moved off to Las Vegas where he had a show there for many, many years. He's done really, really well while he was out there, made a whole lot of money. Now, he since has retired and actually moved back here to Hot Springs. And once he got back here, some of his old buddies and friends actually talked him into opening back up his show once he got here. Now, he puts on a really wonderful show on the weekends. So if you guys are still in town or interested in that kind of stuff, I'd highly recommend going and seeing him. He used to do it like damn near every night, but with COVID and everything, it kind of threw a kink in it. Back up on Bridge Street. Now, something funny about Bridge Street I forgot to mention a while ago is we actually had some of our locals come in, and they actually got some celebrities to come in. Jay Leno was one of them. The Hispanic comedian, I forget what his name is, he actually come in and during the St. Patrick's Parade, and they was actually on some of the floats. It was actually a really neat ordeal. Now this is actually one of the springs I was talking about a while ago where you can come in with your own water bottle and get water. Just remember, go to Wally World if you don't have a container. Unless you don't mind paying the overpriced fee. Now this building right up here, this big old building right here, this is actually our old Army Navy hospital. And it was around for years up until the college bought it out a few years ago. The college has actually been talking about redoing it and just restoring the inside. They are trying to get it on one of the old building magazines. I haven't heard how that was actually going just yet. And we're coming back up on Bathhouse Road. Has anybody been in seen any of the old bathhouses yet? Well, if you get a chance and you're into historic things and whatnot, you should go in there and check it out. They've got a lot of really good history in there. And if you'll be looking off to your right-hand side, I'll actually show y'all some of the capped-off springs that I was telling you guys about a while ago. They'll be coming up here on our right-hand side momentarily. Everybody smile and wave at this duck. They're not very energetic. Nick, my duck's more energetic than yours.
My duck's fast. The toy says no.
Do we have anybody staying at the Arlington Hotel by chance? So the Arlington Hotel actually used to be our #1 rated hotel here in Hot Springs. Now these are some of these capped springs I was telling you guys about a while ago.
It's not over.
Now, if you follow right here, this little concrete sidewalk, if you'll follow it around under the gazebo off to the right-hand side, you'll actually be able to set up on that spring I was telling you about and take pictures with the family. But like I said, I recommend not to touch the water if you can, just because of the temperatures that it come out in. Now, the Arlington Hotel, Al Capone used to actually stay here, and he stayed in the same room every time he come into town. He stayed in room 446. And the reason he done that is because he could actually see downtown, so when local law enforcement was actually coming, he'd be able to see them. And they had him an underground tunnel built over here into the Southern Club at the time. So he'd get in this tunnel, come down underneath the street, back up in the Southern Club. Now, the Southern Club has since been turned into the Wax Museum. But if you have the Duck and Wax Museum combo, and you go in there, just ask to see the underground tunnel, and they will show it to you. It's not something that they just openly broadcast, but if you tell them you want to see it, they will be happy to show it to you. If you see me digging it out, because your wishes, you know, you're making your wishes. Well, I got wishes and dreams I gotta make come true too, so times are tough. Nah, I'm just joking with y'all. Y'all enjoying your tour so far?
Yeah.
Good deal. Oh, thank y'all. Look, they're gonna be a kind person. Thank you. Stop here at this stop almost time. We'll wait on this little Tahoe to get a little closer. We'll just pull out in front of you since I can't find a Cadillac.
Wait, we're gonna go back?
Then we're going to go to the store.
And we're off once again.
Yeah, it's a Catholic.
We're gonna go again?
Yeah, we're going back then. We go out.
Yeah. I had fun though.
Yeah, it's fun.
So downtown Hot Springs.
Now downtown is actually still considered the national park, so that's why you see the park rangers and stuff running around. So I will tell y'all, you know, if you see anybody down here and they like get in trouble or anything, this is federal land, so it's actually a lot worse. Right here, this white and green top building right here, this is the old Mountain Valley Water building that I was telling you guys about earlier. So this is kind of like their museum. You can go in there and see all their bottled water and their procedures and all that good mess. Or you can just go in there and buy an overpriced t-shirt. And last but not least, we have our winery downtown right here. You can go in there, and the same applies for downtown. You can show them your duck ticket, get your free wine tasting, look at what decor they have. Guys, I want to thank y'all all so much for riding National Park Boat Tours, and I hope I didn't bore y'all too bad, and I hope y'all had a wonderful experience. Thank y'all very much. where it's really fine valet parking and duck with no power steering.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, sir.